Hi, Shawn. Congratulations.
Thanks, Celine.
What excites you about this opportunity?
Um, that's a good question. I mean, obviously, a lot of different things. I think it's just an exciting time in general in our organization, both in Detroit and Grand Rapids. I think Grand Rapids now, obviously, it's been no secret the last few years we've had a lot of draft picks, and some of those guys are starting to turn pro and come in here. So for me, it's going to be kind of a seamless transition in that regard because obviously I've watched and worked with those kids kind of extensively over the last few years. So it's going to be nice to continue that now in a little bit of a different role, but more on the pro side now.
Just your relationship with Steve, how has that evolved over the past 3 seasons? I know you often sit with him in the management suite at Little Caesars during games.
Yeah, no, it's been great. I think, right from the outset when Steve and Pat came in, I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better situation. I think they gave me a little more responsibility right at the bat, and it kind of expanded my role from the development side into to more the pro and the scouting side, and really just had me be around and be involved in all aspects of the organization. And so for me, it was just a really good learning experience. Whether that was free agency or just the drafting of it, our prospect list and trade stuff and different things like that. So just kind of being involved and being a fly on the wall and just listening to those guys. Obviously, they have a lot of experience and a lot to learn. So for me at this point now, I've been fortunate to kind of be around them for 3 seasons, and I'm comfortable in this sort of situation now.
Lastly, just the running the Griffins on a day-to-day kind of, what's that challenge going to be like for you? I'm wondering, I mean, did you kind of pick Verbeek's brain or Ryan Martin's brains last few years, or?
Yeah. Well, actually, even when Ryan was here, I got to say with Ryan, he was great to me early in my career as well. I was kind of, obviously I had my role, my job to do, but Ryan was always like, listen, you're more than, and Kenny too, and it was continued with both Steve and Pat. They said, anytime you want to be around, the offices and you want to just kind of learn and come sit around, you're more than welcome. And I try to do that. I try to be down there as much as I could and be around those guys. And Ryan was was very good to me and kind of involved me in different decisions and let me sit in on various meetings and things like that. And then obviously that continued with Pat as well. So I think for what the job is, I've kind of been around it for a while now. Feel comfortable with it, and it shouldn't be too big of a transition for me.
Thank you.
Shawn, in your career path trajectory, did you see this as a role you would like to have evolved into someday?
I never thought about it that way. I always just kind of, I always knew I wanted to get into management. When I first got here, I have to say all areas of it kind of excited me. I really enjoy it. I enjoy being on the management side in terms of trying to build something. One thing you don't realize as a player is just how much goes into it, the time commitment, the all kind of different areas. So for me, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I thought the one nice thing about development is you're both on the amateur and the pro side, so you really do get to see a whole, all the different areas of management overall. And like for me, so I didn't really know. I just kind of whatever role was given to me at that given time, I just try to do it to the best of my ability. And then if I had any other free time, I was just trying to be a fly on the wall and try to listen and trying to learn as much about different ones. And then obviously when Pat and Steve came over, my role grew a bit from just being development. We had obviously Dan Cleary came on, and then Nick Cromwell came on, and really kind of delegate a little bit more on the development side to those guys, which kind of allowed me to kind of take a little bit of a different role in various different areas. And so, yeah, to answer your question, it all interests me. It always has. And just kind of, but in terms of wanting to do it, I never thought about it that way. Just wanted to do whatever I was given that certain day to the best of my ability, and with that came different positions and different opportunities.
You kind of answered my follow-up question a bit there. One of the things I hear a lot from Detroit's prospects is they appreciate how hands-on you are with them, and you really keep them in the loop, and are very straightforward with them about what they need to work on. It was that as you say, Nick and Dan have kind of stepped into that role. Is that kind of the plan going forward? They'll assume that, and you'll have to kind of step back away a bit.
Yeah, I think, part of my role still is going to be to oversee development. But, I think we've, along with Dwayne Blaze, who's our skill coach, Tracy and Brody Tutton, our skating coaches, we've worked hard to we realize the importance as an organization in development, and we've worked hard to put the best possible team together and kind of, really attack all aspects of development and try to do it all to the best of our abilities. And obviously Nick and Danny are a huge part of that. Nick being over in Sweden has been a huge asset for us, especially given the COVID situation. Danny in North America. So, I do feel like the role in itself, I am more than comfortable kind of giving those guys even a little bit of a bigger role because they already have that. I think they're directly responsible for all of our guys, and we work together as a team. We speak daily on it. So, the fact that, I won't be as involved as I was before really doesn't change that much because those guys have been doing it for a while now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, hi, Shawn. Just over these last 6 years, just how much have you enjoyed just working with the young players, prospects, and just seeing them come up through the ranks and develop? And the fact that you have that background, you mentioned it a little bit, but that helps ease making for a smoother transition into this new role.
So is the question, am I gonna miss working with the players? Is that?
No, you're still going to be working. I mean, there's a smooth transition there because you'll have
exactly.
similar duties. Yeah. And just how much you've enjoyed that working with those.
I have enjoyed it. I think, when you leave the NHL as a player, I think one of the things that everyone always says they miss most is just being around the guys, right? And when you're in development, you're still around these players. You're starting to see. And one thing is when you do leave, you really appreciate what it is to play in the NHL. And when you get to these kids on the development side, they're just starting their careers. They're so excited. You want to do whatever you can to try to get them to that level. And the nice thing is, it does take some time, but I did it long enough where I did get to see guys get to that NHL level and just see how much they appreciate it and just really the happiness of when they do get there. And it is fulfilling and it's one of the better parts of the job.
And also, just how much are you looking forward to just expanding your roles now? You'll be dealing more in like contracts, player acquisition, signing free agents, at least at the AHL level, just adding that to your resume. How much are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, the one benefit is taking this job, I guess at this time gives you some time to learn the league and a little bit of a buffer before all that kind of stuff starts to happen. But I'm excited to do it. I'm excited to along with Steve, to try to build a team here. We have a lot of young players coming. Their development is our first and fourth most attention was what we want to do. We want to make sure that those guys are developing, but we want to win. We realize that winning is part of that, and in order to do that, you have to have good veterans on your team. So that is going to be a big part of the job, is trying to make sure that we can piece together the right people here to obviously help develop prospects, but also win at the same time.
Thanks, Shawn.
Hi, you've been mentioning that you've just been a fly on the wall a lot during your career, soaking it in, kind of learning and listening to what's going around you. Do you feel like that quality is something that will help you really succeed and thrive at this job?
Yeah, I think so. I think certainly don't view myself as the smartest guy in the room, but I think I was smart enough to know that you just need to sit there and listen to the people that are doing it well and have done it for a long time. And I think but for that to happen, you have to have people in management there that allow you to do that. And I was very fortunate, probably ran to a perfect storm where, a guy like Ken Holland and Ryan Martin at the start, and obviously Chris Draper, and then with Steve and Pat coming on, they were great. They allowed me to try to be around and be involved in everything. And I was able to learn a lot in a short period, just by what I said earlier, was just kind of sitting and listening.
And what kind of things do you think that you can bring to the table to really help this organization succeed?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think maybe a lot of hopefully different areas. One nice thing is, I did play before, and obviously, been in development, and now kind of on, into to actually running the Grand Rapids team. I've kind of been in all different areas. I've scouted on the pro side. I've done some scouting on the NHL side. I've seen these players play in the American Hockey League before. I'm going to have to do a little bit more of that to get to know the league a little better. But I think for me, just the experience of having played before, knowing what it takes, been through playing in the minors before, I think will definitely help me.
Yeah, and then one final one from me. You played for Michigan State. There always seems to be Michigan State players coming in and out of the organization. Can you just kind of speak to that kind of legacy that happens between Grand Rapids and Michigan State?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think obviously I'm a proud Spartan. I spent 4 years there. I think the one good thing about Michigan State is they always produce good players, and I think we're in the business of, we're not just going to give people jobs. We're in the business of trying to find the best possible players to fit the roles that we need, and fortunately over the last few years, Michigan State players have been able to do that for us, and I'm hoping down the road that they'll continue to.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hey, Shawn, you talked about kind of some of the pro scouting responsibility you've taken on the last couple of years. Where do you feel like your kind of feel for both the NHL and AHL personnel around the league is at right now?
I definitely think it's better. Obviously, that wasn't a priority for me, and it will be now. So, I think that's where a lot of my, my viewings and my work will be is watching more of the pro players. And, I think, that's our job, right? Is to watch hockey and watch players. And, I do feel comfortable, but at the same time, it's going to be easier for me now, I guess, to get those viewings in where I don't have to focus on maybe prospects and amateurs as much.
And then when you talked about kind of sitting in on meetings with whether it be Ryan or Steve and Pat, what are some of the, I don't know whether it's lessons or philosophies, some of the things you took away from watching those, anything that really stands out in your mind?
Well, I mean, there's a lot, I think the one thing you realize is patience, I think, and really just listening. I wasn't a great listener when I started for management. I think it's different. You leave as players are really, you got to believe in yourself and you got to put yourself out there. It's hard to play a long time in the NHL. And I think once you get to management, you got to do a lot of listening. And I wasn't really kind of that good at that. I'm still trying to improve on that. But, listening and patience would be the two biggest thing that, that you can definitely see with both Steve and Ken.
And then obviously you've worked in player development directly, but kind of the push and pull of the AHL always seems to be how you balance development and getting guys as much ice time and roles as possible with competitive environment and making guys earn it and winning. How do you see the balance of that playing out for the Griffins under your leadership?
I think for us, obviously it is a balance. You want to develop your prospects, in order to do that, your prospects need to play. But at the same time, it never works out when you just give anyone anything in life. They have to earn it. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to put them in environments and we're going to give them every tool possible, both on and off the ice to be successful. And if they are, that's fantastic. We're doing our job. And if they aren't, we're going to find a way to creatively get better and find a way for them to do that, and like I said, being competitive, being in competitive situations and being held accountable and having to face some adversity, goes into all of that. So I do think it's a balance and not something that I can give you an answer now because that answer probably changes day to day.
Thanks, Shawn. Congrats.
Yes, congratulations, Shawn. What do you anticipate will be kind of a typical day-to-day schedule, work for you?
In Grand Rapids or just in my role in general?
In Grand Rapids.
Well, in Grand Rapids, I mean, for now, what I want to do is really, obviously I know the team, I know the players here. That's the benefit of being in the organization and being in development. So I don't really have to, spend time kind of getting up to speed that way. But, I do want to get to know the league a little bit better. I got a forecast for next year. It's not too early to start doing that, kind of figure out what holes we need to fill. And then start to figure out, who we want to fill those holes. So, I think a day-to-day, though, I'll be here as obviously as much as I can. Obviously, given my title, I have other other responsibilities. But I will be here. I'll be speaking. I have a good relationship with Ben and all the coaching staff here. We've done a really good job here as an organization building out the not just the kind of the medical and performance staff. I think that was a focus of ours, and we're trying to get, we've done a good job of doing that. So I'll just meet with the staff in general for now, see where we're at, and really just kind of be here and be, a sounding board for Ben, watch the games, give him my feedback. But at the end of the day, the coaches are going to coach the team, and I'm going to kind of try to help them out any way we can to, to put the best product on the ice possible.
And then just to follow up to that, for veterans that you'll be looking to sign, aside from what they bring on the ice, kind of what qualities or characteristics will you look to say that player is who we want to be a Grand Rapids Griffin? Yeah,
that's very important. It's always been important to me. You want to have good people. You want to have people that care about the relation, the organization. They care about the relationship with their teammates. They want to show up every single day. We're going to expect. And we're going to demand hard work. We're going to demand attention to detail, and we're going to demand that they carry themselves at the level that you would want a Detroit Red Wing player, a Grand Rapids Griffins player to carry themselves at. So it's very important. It always has been to me, and it's something that we'll take into serious consideration when looking at to add people.
Thank you.
Hi, Shawn. Congratulations. I know that you've always been on the cutting edge, even when you were a player, as far as working out and techniques. And will you still have a hand in that, or will that take you away from that aspect of the job that I know that you like?
No, definitely. I'm actually going to meet with our sports science guy and our I'm in Grand Rapids now, obviously, for tonight's game. I'm going to meet with them later today. But I have been involved in that kind of through this process with Mike Barwis and trying to, put together a team down here and improve that aspect of it. And I think we've been really successful at that. It is sort of new and it's still a work in progress, but I think we've done a good job, and I think the right people are in place. So it is something that I'm passionate about. It's just another area that these players can use and that they have to focus on to just try to get a little bit better. This business, really, it's such a fine line, and you can't just leave it up to the players. They're still young. You have to try to give them, every single, everything possible that that goes into being a professional that they can possibly get better at. We want to provide that for them. So, I think we've done a good job in starting to put that into place.
I know that talking to several prospects over the years, they always looked forward when you would pay a visit to them to watch them play. Will you still be able to do that, or are you now basically for Detroit, between Detroit and Grand Rapids?
Yeah, I won't be able to, that would probably be more Kroner and Danny now. So that is an area that I'm probably going to miss because it was something that I enjoyed. So yeah, I won't be visiting the prospects as much anymore. I still will. You'll still get, I'll get smaller viewings in, but before that was predominantly my job, and I was in different rinks and billet houses and hotels, weekly, and that's just, I don't have the time and the resources to be able to do that anymore.
And one final question, and this is in regards to the Toledo Walleye. I know Ryan was like a consultant, and if Grand Rapids couldn't sign a player or whatever roster size might steer a couple players towards Toledo's roster. I'm not so sure Pat ever had the opportunity to do that. Will you be doing that too? Are you also a consultant to the Walleye?
Yeah, this is my first day, Art, so I haven't had to go down.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
But I'm assuming that's part of it, right? You can see how many players we've had kind of call up, this year as well. Yeah, I know Waddy quite well, and obviously I'll be talking to him soon. And of course, we have an affiliation with them, and we'll help them out any way we possibly can.
Great. Thanks again, Shawn. Congratulations.
Thanks, Art.
Hey, Shawn. So we talked a little bit about the lessons that you learned from Pat on his way out, but what lessons did you really take to heart as director of player development? And then what advice would you give to whoever would be filling your prior position?
I think player development is something that, it takes a lot of patience. You're dealing with young players that have, no one has the same problem. You know what I mean? Everyone has something different. And those problems change, so I think more than anything is you really just, the biggest lesson in development is you have to constantly stay on top of these players, because one day they might be doing great, the next day it might be the end of the world, right? And one day they might be very successful at this aspect of the game, and the next day they might have to work at this aspect. So there's just you really have to stay. You got to get a lot of viewings in. Communication is key. One thing I always said about about development is, how do you expect someone to do something if they don't trust you, right? So that was the first thing that I always try to do when we draft these guys, was get out there and see them early in the season, take them out for dinner, spend some time with them on the ice. And just to build a relationship, right? So that when I did call these guys during the year, kind of sent them stuff to work on, they believed in it and they would go out there and do it, because you can't be with these guys, all of them, every single day. They do have to trust you, and you have to trust that they're going to do kind of what you're asking of them. So that would be the biggest lesson. And like I said, both Nick and Danny have been at this long enough where they're both excellent at that.
And you've been here under a couple different regimes of general managers above you. Have you noticed any kind of differences in terms of player development between prior years with Ken Holland and now with Steve Yzerman?
Well, I think when I first came in with Ken, there was a transition, right? I mean, development for them in the past kind of was, they had such good teams. They're in the playoffs every single year. They were pushing to make the Stanley Cup. They were trading picks away in order to try to bring people in to help with that. And they had the luxury of just kind of letting, their draft picks come in and sort of marinate. And when they were just so good to, down here that they didn't belong in the league anymore, that's kind of when they'd call them up. And then when I kind of got here, that was sort of on its way out, and there was a need, right? There was a need to replace players more quickly in the NHL. The team wasn't as strong anymore, and we were drafting more players, right? So there was just a huge transition, and really the need for development came to the forefront for those various reasons I just stated. So, became abundantly clear early that we had to get up to speed and try to add as much as we could, and just adding people in general. Like, we didn't have skating coaches, or it was just me to begin with there, and we were able to add a skill coach. And when Brandon Naratto came on, and then Danny retired, I think it was the first year after I was here, if not the first, second. And then Nick Cromwell retired, and he came on. He took a liking to it right away, and they were able to add some skating coaches. So slowly we started to piece together, a team, so to say, of all the different various areas that we felt players needed in order to develop. And like I said, I'm comfortable now that we're at a really good spot with that.
Thanks a lot, Shawn. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hey, Shawn, just wanted to, can you give us a little insight into the timeline? Like, when did Steve kind of approach you?
Well, my contract was up this year, so I talked to Steve maybe a few weeks ago, just on trying to do something new, and it was just a slow, kind of organic, process. He kind of brought up a few different things, and we kind of went back and forth on a few different things, and then really, Beaker's situation, as we were talking, became clear. Like, he was going to be asked to interview for the GM position, and then, so we just kind of waited for that process to take shape, and then as it looked like he was going to get that job, Steve just kind of approached me with this opportunity, and obviously I was excited about it and looking forward to it, and happy to take it on.
Great. Thanks so much.